Hi, Mark with Sager's, and today I've got a project. Had a cat water pump that developed a little issue on it, and so we're going to get that out of there today and get it replaced with a new cat water pump that just showed up. First of all, I suggest when you receive this from Butler, before you tear out the old one, open up the package and inspect to make sure that cat water pump is in good condition and okay and survive shipping, which I've done taking in and out, so I can guarantee you it's good. It shows up. They've got some oil here, and also on this, the beautiful part about it is the clutch is actually mounted on the unit. Everything else is going to mount on pretty quick, so I'm going to go through some procedures to do that. First of all, you take off this cowling. There's 4 of these like nuts, long nut bolts here, thumb, go in on each side of this van's Butler cowling. Here's a secret that I do. I'm just going to take out this one. I'm going to pause the videos a lot. I take that thing out. I put it over here in my high pressure reel. Ha, missed. But I take and I put it right in that cap right there. So I'll shortly, there you go. That's where it goes. All right, I have the other 3 of those units out. And again, I just take and I put them in over there. So then I'm not looking for them. I just make that a commonplace whenever I pull the shroud off. Got the light on underneath here, lit up. The other thing I do is I mark underneath mine when I last changed the oils, what's happening, etc. And a lot of times I'll mount on my Butler cover, which I haven't done here, what belts it takes underneath here, because I'm going to replace the belts. I think this one's AX41s for the cat water pump, and I think they're 43s for the other. And I carry those belts, extra belts for underneath the lid and for the front of the van all the time with me. Later I'm going to do a video because I'm changing out the front of the van as well. I'll do a video on that, I hope, today on how to change out the front of the van. But for now, you just put this down. There's a handle here, and it's going to take me 2 hands. But with the front panel, you basically pull that up here, pull it out. And again, so I don't dang it up and everything, I'm going to use both hands to pull it out and set it out here. Okay, I've got the Butler cover out of there. Got it in here. It's all open access now. So the other thing I'm going to end up doing is draining the cat pump oil here before I pull this out. Start doing some of my disconnects here. Move my chemical injection just off and out of the way here. That's just a container plastic part there. I'm just for right now going to move out of the way here. Set off to the side. I already cleaned it up a few days ago. While I'm under here, I am going to see if there's any belt dust and stuff I can clean up, take care of. But I'll be back with you in a few minutes. Like I say, I'm going to drain that oil down. Okay, what I'm going to use to drain my cat water pump out the front here, they got the pump oil drain. There's a little cap that they have on here too. It's purple on this one here. I just take and cut a little notch out of there, slip it underneath there. And then you got to pull up on this here little unit here. It comes upward and then over. So there we go, and it starts draining that oil. Now that's going to take a few minutes to do that. Oil is fairly fresh in there, but I did put a dye in there just to try to find where I was having a little oil leak issue and found it on the casing, and so we're going to get this thing replaced. But I'll be back with you as soon as that's drained and go to the next level. Alright, while that oil is draining, I can do some other things like removing the belts here off the cat water pump and also off the blower. Now the blower on the front here, there's a tensioner, really great tensioner Butler has. There's also a slot for a 3/8 inch socket or a breaker bar. Well, this thing is so awesome, I can actually push it with my hand, and I can remove it one-handed. Also, if I were just replacing these belts, I really don't have to loosen up this water pump. I can just grip this thing and ride it over the edge. Again, trying to do this one-handed isn't as easy, but with 2 hands I'll be able to do that without even loosening the water pump, even though I am going to remove the water pump. So that'll be another issue, but I'll get that going. All right, I'm going to show you. I've got this riding over the edge of that clutch. I'm going to hope this works out. And now I just peel that belt right off of there. So that's gone. You take it out from behind there. So you're going to put this back together in reverse order. So that is my AX41, and I believe these are the 43s. Yep, AX43s. So what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to need 2 hands to do this, but I'm going to push this down and I'm going to pull these off. Pull it off of here and pull it off of there, and I'll have those belts completely off. Now, for changing the pump, that's all I would have to normally do, is just that belt there. But I am going to change these belts because they're due at this time, and I want to freshen up while I got this lid off. All right, I have one of the new belts in already, and I've got it going the side one over there. I've got it on that top tensioner pulley, and I've got it here, and I just got it started down here. And this tensioner here is pretty easy to push by hand, and all I have to do is just seriously spin that on, and it will go in place. So there, that belt is on. That easy, that quick. So that part's done. This is going. That's still draining. I'm going to take and dump that oil into an oil capture container that I'm just using an old jug there. That's all oil recovered. We'll do that and keep going with that. All right, well, that continues the final drain. It takes about 20 ounces in this cat pump, but we're going to start by, we're going to take off this here. You'd have to release the pressure sometimes here. That's the hot water convenience in the front. Release the pressure. This could be buggered up or jammied up, just dirt and debris sometimes for some of the older ones. I've found that. So just a female quick connect on that, and you pull it up and off. So that's in position your pressure gauge. I'm going to set that over here on the tank. Some parts here for your chemical injection. We're going to take off these here plumbing parts. This is part of your chemical injection braided line hoses coming to the front panel here. And then we're going to be also unhooking your pressure regulator here. Just a few things. This is a part though on the side of the injection you want to be very careful when you take off. Very small little brass piece in there. This is all one. You can break them off. Ask me how I know. So I'm going to start tearing this apart. Forgot to tell you, make sure you turn off the water from your fresh water tank coming in too, if you got a fresh water tank over there. And 9/16 I believe it is wrench just here. Get that on there clockwise. Crack that open. You're going to see it's going to drip. It's going to drain a little bit because you've still got moisture and water in there. Not a big deal. You wipe it up when you're done. These here, it's going to keep trying to pull out of the chemical injection. So I've kind of got that just pulled up out of there. You could remove it entirely. Just take this off. Set her off to the side here a little bit. I sometimes will elevate it so it's not draining all over inside. If it'll stay there, probably not going to while I'm doing this. Yep, she's going to drain a little bit. Now these braided lines, you want to be careful with them. There we go. We'll just do that for now. Keep it upward. And again, then we're going to take off the back side of the chemical injection. Remove that down quick. Pop that out of there. This one here possibly not going to leak quite as much. And if you're monkeying around your hot and cold adjustment, make sure when you go to fire up later, you've got that in the right spot. All right, so we've got this here part. All right, I've got to get on the underside of the chemical injection here. Carefully, I'm going to take, and this is your bleeder valve chemical injection. Oops, wrong way. Looking in the camera, so I'm seeing things backwards. Undo that. Again, same scenario. Pull that up and out of the way carefully. So there it is down. Now, this is the part right here. You want to be very careful when you unscrew that. So I'm going to go get the proper size wrench to go on that brass piece there and unscrew this, which has a rubber O-ring on the back side of that. And I'm also going to pop off these here to get it so I can spin this off the cat pump possibly too. I'm going to remove, like I say, the pressure regulator probably to get out of the way. Unhook some other hook connectors down here. So there'll be a process. I'll be right with you. All right, I have got myself a 7/8 inch wrench, and I'm just going to easily give that so it loosens, going counterclockwise. I'm going to get that wrench up and out of the way. I'm just going to spin this off by hand. Now, this is part of the bleeder system, bleeding your chemical injection if you go to change out formulas or get air bubbles out. Now, I'm taking this off. I'm going to be careful because this is a small little part. And it goes in there quite a ways. So there it is. That is very small. There's a rubber black gasket on the end there too. So that's why there's no Teflon tape or goop. I'm going to set this off to the side. Set it there. So now, if you pull these off, there are going to be springs and check valves in there. So realistically, you got to be careful with that because these parts are also going to come off and all this. So I'm going to pull a few things apart here just by hand and also quick connect and I'll be with you. All right, I just pulled the pressure regulator, and these are just on quick connects there. So I've got it on both sides of quick connects, both sides. I'm just going to push that off to the side, get out of the way. Not really going to have to unhook it from the front here because the cat pump sits on top of that hose or around it. So I'm going to just start working on these other parts here. because this part here is going to have to unclip, and possibly in here unclip, just to get this out of the way of the cat pump. This is an inline filter that they have. All right, I'm done draining the oil. I just pulled it out. I'm just in a reverse mode. I make sure I put my cap back on before I lose it. And I'm going to dispose of that oil properly here into that container. Continue. Okay, I'm going to show you two areas I unclipped here. Inline here, going to the filter. This one is still on. Pulled it off there on the cat water pump there. Of course, we've got the pressure regulator off there. So at this point, all I have remaining to do is I'm going to spin this off here. This is kind of a pulsation dampener, nitrogen charged. I'm going to get this out of the way so I can get these pieces out of the way later. But I'm going to take this piece off by, first of all, removing this elbow area and removing this. Keep in mind, if you take this one part off, there's check valves in here. I just need to get this elbow out of the way so I can spin it around. So I'm going to take these apart. Careful for flying parts, just in case. And then I can spin it off this cat water pump even. But that I could do out of the system. I might just do it in here, or I might just pull the 4 bolts and do that too. There's also grounding wires on this. So that's also with the pump. Some of you are saying, Mark, why you got to take these ends off? Well, because it will run into areas there. So you do this, you will have to take these off. All right, this takes a 3/4 inch wrench to get these check valves off. And I'm in kind of a bad position with this, trying to video and do all this. So again, you want to go counterclockwise to get these to remove themselves slowly. And there's pipe dope and Teflon from the factory on here. So I've got it loosened up. I can probably do this one by hand. Now again, be careful when you take some of these apart. Some of these pieces, the first time you take them apart, there could be springs and check valves. This here, I got the part that doesn't have that, but they are deep inside there. So this is all safe taking this, and you want to know which way this came apart. Take pictures beforehand. So now you're saying, well, you can maybe get by with that, Mark, as you try to spin it off of there. And nope. So that part has to come off too. Be with you as soon as I get all that done. Now I've just taken those check valves off, and you'll notice a lot of times there is, if I can get this to focus, there is an arrow showing the indication of the direction of the flow that'll be on the Butler pump. On one of the area here, hard to see in the camera. And then I'm just taking them, laying these parts out, because I know that came from the side, I know this was the back, and I know that was the front. So I'm laying them out to remind myself as it comes on and off that chemical pump. All right, chemical injection pump is off. Again, you can maybe see, here we go, there are the arrows. Again, I'm just going to take and set that right there for now. I still am going to have to pull that stem off, and I'm going to have to take this apart to get this off. Well, I can wait to take this off at this point today when I get it out of here, but there's sometimes, you know, you just need to remove that part to even just to replace that part, in a sense, send it back to Butler, and they send you a replacement and recharge that, etc. So I'm just going to spin it off here while I'm there conveniently, let you know. All right, need 1 1/8 inch. Get underneath here. Again, for your nitrogen charged pulsation dampener. Now I just loosened it up. A lot of these parts, you don't need a lot of tools to super tighten these things down. So I can unspin this and take that off there and out of the way. This here is a valve on top. They fill it up with nitrogen when they rebuild them. That'll take a little, just double hands. I'll get that out of there. That's all it is. This cap is just replaceable, goes on top here. Pop that a second so you can see. That's just where they kind of fill them up. Takes care of so the hoses don't pulsate like crazy. Let's set that off to the side. All right, so these here pieces, because I'm going to pull a cat pump, I'm going to just leave them on and assemble and reassemble them there. And so now I'm just going to pull these 4 bolts, or these nuts off this bolt, and this whole thing is now just going to pick right up out of there easy. All right, the back two I was able to take off with a deep weld 1/2 inch socket on both sides here. And on the front ones though, you are going to need a 1/2 inch wrench, if I can get them in the video. There we go. That one's the one with the wires. So 1/2-inch wrench, box end, open end. I like to use this little ratchet socket. I'll do that, take those off and get it. Okay, one important part I almost forgot to tell you about. And I get looking through the camera and doing this. This here is the drain fill tube that goes all the way down into the front that we're conveniently draining from. Well, that there is an 11/16, I believe. Yep, 11/16. And you want to be careful, because as you're doing this, you want to make sure you don't over tighten. You tighten it up, but you don't crack that fitting when you reinstall, and you also aren't twisting up the line that it's part of. So we'll get that out of there and get this pump pulled, because I got all the other bolts out. Well, this here, even the fitting, compression fitting, this is spinning out of the pump. So what I'm going to do is all the way down here at the bottom, and I apologize trying to do this and upside down and everything. There's another compression fitting. You will find it down here. There, down there, and of course my finger's in the way. Anyway, it is down here. If you follow it, I am going to take and pull it off down there, because that's a better swivel compression. I want to be safe. All right, I pulled that thing, pulled her off there. That's it. I've still got this front. I'm ready to pull it. Got my 2 ground wires off there, but there is also another wires that you have to pull apart, and they've got pins on it, and you see on the top here. You'll figure this out. You unclip these, and then you just pull that apart. And you just want to know where that came from on your wiring harness. So it's pretty easy to do. See that? Unclip it. Again, there, got it even one-handed. Impressive. So I'll get that cap pump out of here and on the bench. All right, cap pump out. You can see I've been leaking oil, and I've been watching it getting a little bit worse. And I got the pump out here, the old one out on the bench. Have all these parts to take off and stuff, but been leaking, I think, somewhere from here and trailing down there. Not exactly sure, but there's something going on there. And I put some dye, oil dye in there to kind of track it down too. So I'm going to start getting what parts I need to put in here. Take care of that. The sides there. And I'll, of course, put my oil fill into that hole there too. So I'll get all that put back together from this part to that part. A little bit of oil draining, and that again is from the coloring dye and the oil I used. All right, I'm going to use Teflon seal after I clean these ends up, and I'm also going to use a pipe sealant too that I'm going to put on, and just to make sure that I'm safe and install all these mounts. You can see how much oil is still leaking out of that too. So I didn't give it all the time to get out, but I will get it all taken care of here. Again, if I had help, I would show you this, but I'm going to use this wire brush here. Wire clean that off. This is a stainless brush I got there, I believe. And I'm just going to clean all that up before I take and use the sealants on it. Well, I've got a Teflon and got some pipe sealant on it. And that's the plug that I took out of the front here of the new cat pump from Butler. So I'm just going to put this in there. Now, when you screw this in, you want to make sure that it's in properly. Your Teflon tape was put on, so actually it will go around and not peel itself off as it goes in. Be right with you. All right, what I'm going to do is now put the bleeder line in there. So the bleeder line comes off the back here, goes up to the top, and I'm just going to take that line off and install it back over on the new one. All right, Aaron just got off the route. We've got that installed here. There's a plug right here we're going to yank out of here. And this little bugger here, you sometimes got to get that pipe wrench on there pretty good. So, and take your time on her. And this here, you want to pull that whole part off of there so you can reinstall over there. My pretty pipe getting all buggered up. We'll do that, get it off, clean it up. Get some Teflon and pipe dope on that. Again, clean that up in the ends. All right, this is on here pretty good, and I can actually get by with it at this point. Do it that way, then I don't nick up my brass, because I want this thing as purty as possible underneath the lid. So I'm going to just snug that up, get that positioned, and then we're going to get the rest of these parts off here that are necessary to go back on top of there. Okay, now this is going to be kind of important how I'm going to do this. I'm not taking all of this apart. I can take this off of here. As you can see what we have here, the 3 remaining plugs, and I'm going to take this off, take this off, take this off. Now when I go reassemble, I'm going reverse order. that, that, and that. That'll be my order. Off, 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 back on the new one, back on the new one, back on the new one. All right, we're putting this end nozzle in first. It is actually going to face this direction when we're done. This here is just moved down out of the way, and then I'll move it upward after I'm finished this install of that. All right, this is the next part we're going to put on. Get that set. If you remember your pressure gauge, where it would be in the back to install on, but we'll get this so it's straight up and lined out again too, and be right with you. We did have to remove that cap just briefly to twist it. We're putting it back on for safety and make sure nothing gets in for debris. We're going to put the last part on here. All right, we're all bench put back together, all the parts that we need to do. This is, again, we're going to hook this up front. This does swivel. That's what happens on there. Everything here is ready. There is no oil in it when it's shipped. We won't be putting oil in until we get it installed, actually. And this part here, still working, but you want to check those too if it needs replacement. So far, we're doing good. We're going to get her back in the Butler there. All right, I think you get the general idea what we're going to do to put her back together in reverse order. But this here line, power line, and this here hose coming from your pressure regulator, those will be underneath the cat pump. We're going to get installed, then we're going to just take and get it so it lines up. We're going to kind of put a straight edge to line her up and make sure. So we'll be with you as soon as we kind of get her put it in there, hooked up to the front panel for the oil drain convenience, the whole deal. All right, we have the 4 bolts in place. We do not have the wire in place for that because we are going to align this first. We also have in, can you point to it, Aaron, where that was? There we go, that side of it. There it is. Point one more time, that line, and that's where we hooked up in the front, the compression. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take a straight edge, line this pulley up straight with that. So we'll get, right now, we're going to try to work with a level and stuff. Just anything that can be a straight edge across, we're going to try to line that up. So fortunately, I'm going to have to use a couple hands to do it. All right, Aaron has installed just the belt for right now. We don't have this pump down solid, but we're going to adjust the pump and line it up and then snug it down to make sure we're in line and that we have good tension, but not overabundance of tension, but good tension on that clutch and the cat pump and the belt. Okay, we've tightened down the front ones, if I would call closer to the blower on both sides a little bit. We were readjusting, realigning. Go ahead and spin that for him a little bit, Aaron, too. And we're just spinning the shaft and everything here. We're not doing much because we don't have oil in there yet, too, but gives an idea. It's lining up and it's got a little bit of tension on it like it was before we took her apart. So it's just kind of an adjustment. You got to take a little time, and you'll get it into position. And now we're going to tighten down the rest of the bolts, hook up the electrical ground, get some oil in it, and away we go. All right, all bolts snugged down, electrical connectors all hooked up. Belt, if you don't have a straight edge, at least if you can just eyeball it, you can see if it's going to run true and straight. That would be one thing. We're going to put all of the other connector parts on and everything, and we'll, maybe as we go through it, we'll tell you the order of that. It should be important to do. All right, go ahead, Aaron. We're going to hook up the pressure regulator here in the quick connects here. That's one of the first things we'll do, and it clicks in a spot, and we'll take care of it over here on that side going into there. Before you do that, put this here down. We'll get that underneath, so he'll take care of that. I'll be right with you. All right, he's going to connect up this section here before your water intake pressure, and he's going to take and go to that side there. That goes to the pump, and he's going to wiggle and juggle there. That's in place. He's going to get the remainder. There's that hot cold I talked about. You got to take and pull that into this bracket there. Get my fingers out of the way. He's going to pop that baby into place. Boom! I think it's all set. Connectors are there. We are not turning on the water feed yet from that line yet. We're going to finish on the top parts there, getting those last few pieces on. Yeah. We forgot to put Teflon and product on the pulsation dampener hook. So he's just wrapping it. You'll notice the direction he's going because that is the direction that we're going to screw that thing on. So that's the direction you do your threads. And we'll get that set, get the pulsation dampener on top. Pulsation dampener going on, and we'll get that finalized. Be right with you. Literally, he's hand tightening that thing down really, really well. And with the Teflon tape and a little bit of the pipe goop we're doing on it, we think it's going to be just fine. We did have to tweak this here just a tiny bit to give us clearance there. And we're all better. Okay, here we go, next part. All right, chemical injection pump next. Remember all those arrows? Those arrows are going to go in that line with the arrows towards the blower. He's going to install that on top there. And we don't have any of the check valves or any of the parts on. Gonna get that on and get her snugged down. The little hole that's on this side right here, we're gonna have it on that side because that's your bleeder. So he'll get that snugged down again and we'll get that position. And again, we'll be with you. Alrighty, hand tighten that in position. Now, remember this little part I told you about? That's gonna go in the end of the bleeder. That you don't want to break off. So we're gonna just take, and there's no pipe dope or any Teflon you put on there because of the rubber washer. So he's just gonna get it in there and he's gonna be careful. And he's not going to over tighten that. He's going to tighten that by hand, get that in position. We might actually wrench just a tiny, just a snug to get the angle we need so that the hose coming up the back there hooks into that. We'll let him finish that up. All right, he has it in position basically. We're going to take and pull that hose there. Again, no Teflon tape or anything needed. That's the hook up for the bottom side coming out the cat pump for your bleeder. Again, those are 1/2 inch. We'll get them snugged up by hand. We'll snug them again with a wrench at the end, compression. All right, this is the chemical injection shut-off part. This is the other back part of this. These just screw into here on your chemical injection pump. And we'll get those going here. And again, you just want them so the angles are right. If you can get by with hand tightening them, that's the best. And with the sealant, this one here might have to do a little encouragement, but this is going to be straight out over here. And that Aaron over there is also going to be straight out over there. We'll be right with you to show you that. Okay, my apologies. It's been a while since we've done that. We forgot we should probably put that part on first before the pressure regulator, or the pulsation dampener. So we'll get that part on. We'll redo the pulsation dampener. My apologies. All right, we have these in position now. Actually, we just got done rebuilding a chemical injection pump on our 2011 the other day, and we did not have to pull that. We were able to do it. We could have actually on here, you could tweak this a little bit on this, or this one here just didn't quite have the same room. So there's not all the time, the first procedure we showed you would work. We're just gonna put that back on, but we've been able to take and move those on and off without pulling that pulsation dampener, just to let you know. So kind of strange, that didn't fit that moment. We'll be right with you in a bit. All right, we're getting the braided lines on for chemical injection front and back. These just come from the front here. These again are 9/16 I believe on that. We'll get those in position. We'll get them positioned out and straight, and we'll snug them down, and with that we'll take care of that. All right, these cat pumps for the Butlers take 20 ounces. This is a 21 ounce cat ISO 68 special formula. We're just gonna get it in here. You're gonna have some spillage, so they give you 21 ounces. We have extra in the shop, but we're just gonna add that into that and get her ready so we can prepare to get some water prime into it and get her working again. All right, I wanted to make sure I get back to the factory look, so I got my purple cap, and I'm going to just glue that thing back in position. It's got weep holes on there too, as you want to have, but we'll get that on. Aaron's got the oil in. Aaron's just going to put that back on. All right, so we're going to go through the chemical bleeding and procedure. We're going to turn the water back on here. We're going to run this, and I've got a bleeding procedure how to do that. I'm going to check everything over, and we'll just show you it running here in a few minutes. Pressure gauge back on. So in the center here, and if you were to look all the way inside, we would see there is a red dot on the front of the cat pump. I'm going to go to the old one here and just show you. So the old one, when you're looking for, is inside. You want to see where the oil is right in the middle of that red dot in the middle there. So a good moment there, we have this old one out to show you. All right, she's running, and we're checking. Go ahead, run her. Chemical injection working, pressure working, everything looking good, no leaks. And we are running, and we got a home run. So we button her back up, and we call it. Now the next video we're doing is going to be how to change the belts on the front of this baby. Got questions, give us a holler. Congratulations, you've got a cat water pump installed.